Hey everyone, it's me, Cadilac, aka OG Cadillac, aka Mother of the Decade, aka looks 10 years younger than she really is. I'm coming to you with our Sarah Boone series. We are getting so close to the trial date, maybe. So, where I last left you, Sarah had found 2 new lawyers that are really seasoned, really experienced, and those lawyers had asked for a continuance. The judge said, no, you're seasoned lawyers. You knew when you signed on that this trial was in 30 days. You're going in 30 days. Full stop. Okay, so they're like, oh shit. But here's the thing. They are seasoned lawyers, and so they did know that the judge was probably not going to give a continuance and that they would have to be prepared in 30 days. And certainly they took that into consideration before they took her case. So I'm not really feeling too sad for them, right? All right, so her lawyers have since then made many motions, pretrial motions, having to do with her defense, having to do with evidence they need from the prosecution, etc. All right, one thing they discussed is the lacerations on Jorge's face. The defense made a motion to ask the judge to require the prosecution to tell the defense, it's like this, Mom, tell Sarah not to hit me anymore, or whatever, right? It's like that kind of motion. So a motion from the defense to the judge to ask the judge to tell the prosecution to tell the defense if the prosecution planned on using those lacerations, that bruising, those things as evidence, a part of this crime, or if they were even going to bring it up at all. I guess the medical examiner's report makes it appear that those lacerations actually occurred 24 hours or more before he passed away. Another issue that the defense brought up in that same motion argument is that the medical examiner was not 100% sure of the time of death. Did he die that night? When in the morning did it happen? Well, I think we already know it didn't happen before midnight because we have Sarah's video of her yelling at him. Okay, so the defense, starting with Padilla, who we talked about in our previous videos, has always had this battered spouse defense that they were going to use. So there was some more clarification on that this last week during these motions hearings. The battered spouse defense is actually a piece of self-defense. So we have a right as Americans in every state to defend ourselves, all right? And in most states, we have a right to self-defense of another, particularly when it comes to like our children, let's say. Oops, sorry guys. Whacked you in the mic. So the battered spouse defense is a self-defense claim. The defense claim is, I am so fearful of my life due to this, this history of abuse, this history of whatnot. I am so in fear of my life that I had to take his. And I was therefore defending myself because of my fear of my life. So it is, in fact, a self-defense argument. So there was some talk during these motions about self-defense in accident, right? Sarah cannot say, if she says it was self-defense, she cannot say it was an accident. It can't be both. You can't accidentally defend yourself. Well, I suppose you could accidentally defend yourself, but not in this courtroom. So she either has to say it was an accident or that it was self-defense. So they have chosen, they got married to the self-defense at this last argument. They married the self-defense claim and they're sticking with the battered spouse claim. They're sticking with this idea that once Sarah got him in to the suitcase, because of the totality of the circumstances of their relationship, that she was so fearful having put him in there, she's too afraid to take him out. She is going to have to show that she feared she would be killed if she took him out. She feared for her life if she took him out of the suitcase. That is an uphill battle. And part of the reason that that is an uphill battle, there's several prongs to it. One, there are DV cases in the past between Sarah and Jorge where Sarah was the one doing the violence. And two, Sarah's ex-husband apparently spoke with the police, with the prosecution, whatever it might be, and explained that during their marriage, she was typically the aggressor, and that if he had to make physical contact with her, it was to protect himself from her physical aggression. That's not good. It's not good. It's not good. I don't know if accident is better. I locked him in there, I laughed at him, and then I passed out and he accidentally died. I don't know. Honestly, with the videos, it's like indefensible, you know. So her defense team, as we've known, has an uphill battle. All right, one of the, like, I don't want to say craziest, because it's not necessarily crazy. But one of the wildest things that Sarah's motions asked for was that she wanted a hairdresser to do her hair every morning before trial. So her defense made motions, you know, can she wear street clothes? Can she be without, you know, handcuffs? Can she wear makeup? You know, motion to allow her access to makeup so she can do makeup on her feet, on her face. Well, they took it a little further than just Sarah wants to wear makeup. Sarah will do her own makeup. They asked the judge if Sarah could have someone come do her hair. Y'all, Sarah asked if someone could come do her hair. Are you kidding me? First of all, you barely have hair, lady. You have short ass hair. What you gonna do with it? Secondly, what? And whose money is gonna pay for this hairdresser? You want the taxpayers to pay for your hairdresser every morning so that your hair can look good at your trial? No. I don't mind buying you some cheap makeup as a taxpayer. I don't mind. You know, some Wet n Wild or something, fine. But a hairdresser every morning? No. The only American entitled to a hairdresser every morning on our tax dollar is Kamala Harris. Period. That's it. That's the only American I can think of that should be entitled to using my tax dollars to get their hair done in the morning. Sarah is a lunatic. So a big question now is, and well, I guess it's not really a question. In order to prove self-defense, Sarah has to testify, right? She is going to have to testify because she has to show that she was in fear for her life. She has to demonstrate that she believed if she unzipped Jorge, he would retaliate to the extent that he would take her life, right? So the thing about self-defense in America is it's eye for eye, tooth for tooth, right? So you never take a knife to a gunfight, but you never use your gun if someone is fighting you with a knife, right? So you don't, you can knife fight each other, but you can't up the level, right? So if you come to a fist fight and they have brass knuckles, you can have brass knuckles. No, you can't. Those are totally illegal in Texas. Don't be using those. All right. But if they come bare-fisted, you can't just grab brass knuckles or put the razors between your knuckles or whatever it is crazy kids do. Okay. So Sarah is going to have to testify that the fear she possessed because of Jorge's past behavior and Jorge's abuse was so great that she thought he was going to take her life. And I don't think that's going to work. I think, well, I know. Every defendant I've ever seen take the stand is a fucking narcissist. Period. And I'm not talking about in civil suits. I'm not talking about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. In civil suit, you have to take the stand if you're a defendant. I am talking about in criminal defense. Anytime I ever see the defendant take the stand, I know they're a fucking narcissist. Because every criminal defense lawyer in the entire United States of America will tell their client, you have a right to remain silent. Let's use it. Very rarely, and I'm talking very rarely, on the rarest of rare occasions, there is a time for a defendant to stand up to defend themselves on the stand. But I actually can't think of any of those times, really. So don't do it. You don't be doing it. So Sarah now is married to the the defense of self-defense, and she must testify to prove that she was in fact scared enough that she thought if Jorge got out of that suitcase, he would kill her. I don't know about any of you, but I am now 43 years old, okay? I turned 43 a few days ago, and if someone were to scrunch my body in a way such that I was fit into a suitcase and zipped, there's not a shot in hell if I escaped, if I came out of said suitcase, that I'd be able to then kill that person, because my joints would be so stiff and stuck, it would take me a few hours just to be able to move normally. I couldn't imagine anything worse. Honestly, that's terrible. Like, my body aches just thinking about the position that Jorge was in. I'm sure the only reason he was capable of even getting into that suitcase is because he was drunk, and so his body was nice and loose. But I don't drink, so if I got in a suitcase and I got out of the suitcase, there's no way I could do anything for at least an hour after I get in the suitcase. I just would be done. And Jorge was a little older than me. So I just don't think that a juror of Sarah's peers will reasonably conclude that Jorge could have gotten out of that suitcase and killed her. I feel like that is not reasonable. And they have to go beyond a reasonable doubt, right? And I don't see that. All right, the final thing that really went on in these motions hearings in the last few days was this whole, is it a 2-week trial? Is it a 3-week trial? So originally it was a 2-week trial when Sarah had lawyers. Then it switched to 3-week when she was pro se. Then the judge moved it back to 2 weeks because she, now has counsel. However, it is my understanding that the lawyers argued, and I don't know which lawyer wanted it, but they needed more time because they're going to have to interview quite a few jurors. So typically in a jury trial, 50 to 100 people come into the courtroom. Like, every time I've chosen a jury, it's not been more than 25 people to choose from, okay? But I'm doing civil juries, on a smaller scale. So maybe 50 people to 100 come in the room as potential jurors. That is typically okay. 50 to 100 people is a vast and diverse enough pool that you should be able to get different experiences and so on. Now, most crimes, those people that walk in aren't going to know anything about the crime. They're not going to know anything about the defendant. 50 random strangers in a relatively large jurisdiction, chances are you're going to be able to choose 12 jurors out of that 50. This case is different because for the last 4 years, we've been watching stuff about it on YouTube. So they need a larger pool of jurors to choose from to even choose the jurors. And so there's a big discussion about how long, voir dire will take and how long it will take to choose the jurors. And I guess they settled then on a 3-week trial. So it was something notable is the prosecution said, depending on the witness list the defense sends to us, we might end up asking for a continuance. So we are set for October 7th, but depending on what goes on between now and then, the parties might ask for a little more time. Was there anything else? I feel like there was something and I just forgot. All right. It is still September, it is still my birth month, and I am still contributing 43% of my YouTube earnings to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. This is an excellent group. They spend money finding children who usually would have been forgotten, and I love that. All right, so if you join the membership, you send us a Cashapp donation, you buy any merch, we'll be forever grateful, and we'll send 43% of our proceeds to that wonderful organization. Next week, we're going to come back and we're going to go over Sarah's letters, because her letters are very interesting and they gave us a really good glimpse into who she is and her personality. The week after that will be October 9th, and hopefully we'll be talking about opening statements. Hopefully there's not a continuance and we'll just go right on into opening statements and we'll get right into this jury trial. I'm really looking forward to hearing Sarah testify. I just think it's going to be a mess. I just think it's never good when a defendant testifies. If you guys watched that Tellez case, he did a terrible job testifying. I mean, he just spewed narcissism out of his mouth. It was awful. And I'm assuming that Sarah is going to be equally bad, if not worse, than Tellez was. So that will be fun and interesting. I appreciate you coming here so much. I appreciate all your likes and subscribes, all of your support, your comments. I try to respond to most of the comments as long as they're positive. I particularly love your thoughts and ideas on this case. So please let me know what you think, and thank you for joining us.